Welcome, welcome, welcome. Welcome to The Big Number. I'm Tom Haberstroh. We're doing this every week here at Yahoo Sports with my man, Dan Devine. Dan, what's going on, man?
Tom, I'm back. I don't know if your YouTube audience, you can check it out. I'm here in my humble abode. Agent Cooper right here. Mr. Tasty right up there. I've got I'm in my apartment. I am off the road. Was out for the entire Eastern Conference Finals. I was out for the first 5 games of the NBA Finals. The finals aren't over, but my watch has ended. I am back in Brooklyn. It is exciting to be here. It is exciting that we are drawing near the end of the finals, though, so I'm ready to put up some numbers. Tom Haberstroh, hit me with it. What is this week's big number?
Dan, I think you'll appreciate this big number because it is about mileage, and it's not travel mileage. It is actually something about the on-court mileage. So this week's big number is 38.4. That is the number of miles that both of these teams cover per game in the NBA Finals. 38.4. And if that sounds like a lot, that is because it is a lot. It is the most we've seen since the player tracking era began back in 2014 in that Spurs Miami Heat Finals. This isn't just the most distance traveled per game for an NBA Finals matchup. It's that by far. Like no other team matchup is close. This 2025 between the Oklahoma City Thunder and the Indiana Pacers, they just cover so much ground. They're all over the place. 94 feet and 50 feet wide. They're side to side. They're up and down. This is like the hardest fought, most intensely fought NBA Finals I can remember for a very long time. The basketball is just crazy. And I wanted to bring the masses a stat here. 38 miles of distance traveled by these athletes in this NBA Finals. And you feel it when you're watching this game, Dan. All these games that you watch in the NBA Finals, it's just they're everywhere. They're picking up full court. They're rotating. They're hard closeouts. They're sprinting in fast breaks. It's so much fun to watch. Like it's a shame that it's not the most highly rated NBA Finals, but make no mistake about it. If you're tuning in, Dan, this is some of the best basketball you will ever see. Just the level of competition is higher than I can remember. And yeah, there's no LeBron, there's no Steph, there's no KD. Boston's not in it. New York is not in it anymore, right? But like that shouldn't take away from the actual hoop we're watching. So Dan, from home when I'm watching this finals, I just can't believe how hard they're playing. And that stat, the fact that they're covering 4.5 miles more per game than the Boston Celtics and Dallas did last NBA Finals. 4 more miles per game they're running than last year. Dan, does it feel that way when you're there, just how intense it is, these two teams going at it?
Absolutely. I mean, I think you hit the nail on the head when you talked about the full width of the court and the full length of the court. You know, we had come to expect that, I think, to some degree from the Pacers. You know, we talked about it on the big number before. They've been the highest volume full court press team all season long. They really cranked it up against Jalen Brunson last round, and they've even stepped it up another notch here with Andrew Nembhard picking up full court on Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. But then also, you know, when the SGA gets off the ball and it's Jalen Williams picking it up, Aaron Nesmith is in his chest for the whole direction of the court. When you have like the off ball, the bigs that are back to like provide a screen, Obi Toppin is like 75 feet down the court. You know, they're not conceding anything in terms of those outlets or those release valves. And it's the north, south, and the east, west of it. Like, you're getting it both ways. You're getting Lou Dort picking up on Tyrese Halliburton, full length of the court. You're getting every other, Cason Wallace when he's in the game picking up full court, and then chasing these guys around off ball screens. Every action is contested. Nothing is sort of made easy. And I think to your point, like I don't want to get super into the ratings thing because I personally find it boring, and plenty of other people have, gone 38 miles of road on their own on that topic. But the thing that watching these teams up close throughout this series has made me think of is a great quote about the Velvet Underground. It was Brian Eno, the legendary musician Brian Eno, said of the Velvet Underground. That first Velvet Underground record sold only 30,000 copies in its first 5 years. But I think everyone who bought one of those 30,000 copies started a band. And
yes. We're all starting bands right now. We're all going into our driveway and playing basketball after watching this.
But I think the style we're seeing now maybe not everybody's watching it on TV. This is the style you are going to see teams play next season, more of them. And then further on out after that. And in a few years, you're going to see everybody full court pressing, and you're going to see everybody stretching the full width of the court with their spacing. Like, this feels like an evolutionary jump in style of play, where it's not, for a while, it was just the more threes you get up. And then that became a copycat league thing. And then it was, well, you know, you need to be able to play small ball 5 switchable wings. And that was a copycat league thing. And now I think what you are seeing in terms of, it can't just be you need guys who can shoot. It can't just be guys who can switch. It's, you need guys who can cover all of the ground, guys who can guard 3 positions minimum, guys who are also going to be hammering the glass, gang rebounding, crashing from the corners on the offensive end. The versatility and the demands, the physical demands of this series, this is, I think, what the teams are going to look like moving forward. And before the series started, we talked about, I know, like Miles Turner had said, like, I think we're a blueprint for the league. And a lot of us looked at that from a roster management perspective. Like, it's a lot of young guys. It's not, you know, a whole bunch of like trying to stack max superstars. I think in terms of, you are going to need 8, 9, 10, 11 guys who can play this fast, this length, this width, because this works and it's not going anywhere. And I think that, seeing it up close, that, like, I felt like evangelized toward this. This is a no country for old men type situation. You need guys who can go all gas, no breaks, 48 minutes, 94 feet by 50. And it's breathtaking to watch over and over again.
Yeah, like Luka Doncic and Jaylen Brown, Jason Tatum last postseason, it's like a different sport. It really is. Like, there was so much switching last year. In this series, you're just seeing guys fighting over picks, going through dudes, and it's just like they are fighting for every inch, and they're not willing to give up an inch. Whereas, like, a lot of the, you know, when you cross match or when you're switching, it's just like you're standing in place almost to just like conserve energy. And when you got Luka out there, his average miles per hour defensively in the NBA Finals last year was 3.19. Okay, when you
doesn't
look
sound
at,
like a big number.
Not a big number. Jason Tatum, 3.4 miles per hour defensively. A lot of switching, a lot of staying home, not really fighting over screens and going in rotations. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander's the slowest average speed in the NBA Finals. Remember, Luka Doncic, 3.19. Jason Tatum, 3.4. And Shai Gilgeous-Alexander's the slowest one at 3.7. It's like way higher than what the other two were at last year. And then everybody else is like north of 4.5 miles an hour of average speed. Now, it doesn't seem that way when you're on a treadmill and you put the button to 4.5 and that's the average speed. The point is, that's like a walking speed. Okay, it's like a little quicker of a fast pace. But think about all the times that you're standing in the corner, or all the times that you're watching another defender, go 94 feet. There's a lot of standing around in an NBA game, but not in this series. Like, the reason why we see this level of basketball intensity is because these are two very well-coached teams, but I also think it's about the rosters. Dan, we've been talking about it for a while, how young these playoffs have been, that we have our first Gen Z NBA champion, whether it's going to be the Indiana Pacers or the Oklahoma City Thunder. The average age is the lowest for any finalist team, the Oklahoma City Thunder, since 1977 with the Portland Trailblazers with Bill Walton, right? It's been 50 years since we've had two teams that are playing this young at this stage, combined age of 26 years old. Like, in the 2014 NBA Finals between the Spurs and the Miami Heat, the average age was north of 31, right? You got Ginobili, Tony Parker, Chris Bosh, LeBron James, Dwayne Wade, Shane Battier, Ray Allen. Like, it was an old man's game. A decade later, look, Kason Wallace is 21. Chet Holmgren's 23. Jalen Williams is 24. Tyrese Halliburton, 25. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander's 26, and there's no player on the Oklahoma City roster in the rotation that's older than 31 years old. Like, Alex Caruso is the ancient guy out there, and he's 30. And then you got TJ McConnell, who it seems like he's older than he is, just because he's been in the league forever, but he's 32. So, like, the majority of these minutes are going to guys that were just out of college age, right? And that's why I think you're seeing so much high intensity, the conditioning, the level of conditioning, and the get after it. Like, this is a young man's game, and I'm with you, man. I think a lot of teams are watching this NBA Finals and going, how are we going to compete with that? Like, we would get run off the floor in this series.
Yeah, and the older guys, you mentioned TJ McConnell and Alex Caruso, like, find me two guys who are moving faster when they are on the court. Like, I'm not sure what their actual average speed is, but like TJ McConnell, it was one of those, big push-pull questions after Game 5. Like, why didn't Rick Carlisle go back to TJ McConnell late in Game 5 when, Tyrese Halliburton was clearly hampered with his calf issue and Andrew Nembhard was struggling. And TJ had been so great in the third quarter. And it's because, like, TJ empties the tanks so dramatically that 22 minutes for him is like, it's like being on the beach and old. It ages you in dog years, like him being out there like that, to the point where after the game, it took him a really long time to be able to talk to the media, because he was stretched out on the training table, like getting his back worked on, getting his legs worked on, because even in comparatively shorter minutes, like, they wanted to get back to him, but they couldn't until late in the game. It took so much out of him because of the intensity of those minutes. Every sprint, every start stop, every, leaping, slight lean back to get enough space to get your jumper off. Like, all of that requires so much physicality, because the table stakes in this matchup is 100% and nothing less. Like, there is no ease up. There is no relax. It's Kevin Durant on Twitter. There is no relax, champ. From the second I open the app, from the second the ball goes up, these teams are going after it. And I think the thing that's been cool about it, and I'm hopeful, we have the negativity of whatever ratings conversation there is, but this is introducing a large number of people to a style that I think, like, every complaint that people have had about what the NBA game looks like, I think this style answers. It's all threes. All right, well, the Thunder just won a game where they went 3 for 16 or 3 for 17 from three-point range. And because they were able to constantly get downhill, they were able to get to the mid-range. Their superstars were lights out from mid-range. All right, well, nobody plays defense. Watch these two teams. Watch the physicality, getting over all those screens. Andrew Nembhard refusing to give an inch to Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. The MVP of the league does not get to travel a square inch without somebody in his face. The entirety of watch these teams in transition. We'll talk about it later. Like, the absolute commitment to, and for young teams, we hear over and over again, one of the oldest canards in the NBA is like, you can't, like, young teams don't defend. You can't get a young team to defend. Guys either aren't bought in on it because all they want to do is score to get their numbers up to be able to get their next contract, or because young guys just don't understand the value of it yet, or they're not maybe experienced enough to understand all the different schemes. These are teams built on young guys that are completely bought in and locked in on that end of the floor. And so you're going to get introduced to, like, Jalen Williams is going to come out of this series a star, full stop, after what he did in Game 5 of this series, whatever happens the rest of the way. People know his name now. They know who he is. People now know that these Pacers are, like, whatever they think of Tyrese Halliburton, whatever they think of Pascal Siakam, like, they are introduced to a style, to a tone, a tempo. The Thunder are going to come out of this probably the favorites to win next season, no matter what happens over the last couple of games of this series, because of the way they're set up moving forward, and people have been introduced to them. This feels fresh. It feels like something that is leading us into whatever comes next. And I think the style of play, I think the fact that there is no quarter given, nothing conceded at all, and the full width and length of the court is like a battleground. I think that's, like, it's different. It's different in a way that is energizing. And I think you see these two teams absolutely selling out, because that's what this has to be. This is the way that these teams are built. It's the way they were constructed and conceived. And we're seeing that play out on the biggest stage in the sport. And it's been awesome to watch.
Yeah, and the level of play for these young guys, like, they don't look young out there.
Absolutely.
They look like they know they're making so many smart decisions, and they're attacking in the right ways. They look like veterans out there. Jalen Williams just turned 24 years old 2 months ago. 24! And he just dropped 40 points in the NBA Finals, 6 rebounds and 4 assists. I looked up what was the first time when these guys, these all-time greats, Michael Jordan, LeBron, Steph Curry, went the first time that they got 40 in the NBA Finals. Remember, Jalen Williams just turned 24 2 months ago, okay? Stephen Curry, his first 40 burger, 31 years old. Kobe Bryant, 30 years old, almost 31. LeBron James, 30 and a half. Michael Jordan, 29 and a half. Jalen Williams, 24, just turned 24.
Wow.
He got his first 40 piece 5 years earlier than Michael Jordan did, and several years earlier than most players. Larry Bird has never, and I'm saying had never and has never, I don't think he will get a 40-point NBA Finals game. There's still time. I don't want to count out Larry Legend. Larry Bird had never done it. Hakeem Olajuwon had never done it. Dirk Nowitzki had never done it. Kawhi Leonard had never done it. And Jalen Williams here, just shy of turning 24 years old, is now in the 40-point in the NBA Finals club. Just unbelievable basketball. And the way that he's picked up the slack from Shai Gilgeous-Alexander is getting blanketed. And they were like, yo, we need Jalen Williams to bring up the ball every time down the floor. And he's so strong. He's bullying dudes out there, and just, he doesn't look 24 at all. And so this NBA Finals is a coming out party for the Thunder, for the Indiana Pacers, but I also think individually we're seeing these guys play well beyond their years. And what's the most exciting thing about this, Dan, is we're just getting started, right? Like, we've got a decade of these guys on both teams that we've got a lot of time left to watch these guys develop and grow and continue to maximize their talent. And I love it. Tyrese Haliburton, unfortunately, dealing with that calf strain that as of this recording, Dan, what is the latest that you've heard on Tyrese Haliburton, who it looks a little gimpy out there, and it seems like we don't know if he's going to be out there for Game 6.
Yeah, Tyrese Haliburton, went 0 for 6 from the field in Game 5, was clearly limited as he moved around the floor. Rick Carlisle went on the radio in Indianapolis on Wednesday morning, and the basically it's a wait and see still as they head into Game 6 rather. Quote, he's going to be carefully evaluated over the next 36 hours and will likely be listed as questionable on the injury report and probably be a game time decision for Game 6. So the Pacers are going to have to prepare kind of both ways. Are we going to be able to run out there with him or not? And then the Thunder, conversely, are going to have to prepare both ways too. Do we expect to get him on the floor? Do we expect they're going to be able to try to run everything through Andrew Nembhard and Pascal Siakam and find another way of attack? Obviously, if Haliburton's not on the floor, it dramatically impacts Indiana's ability to score, even in a limited capacity where he was in the second half of Game 5. Haliburton's still their best facilitator, still their best. He comes off the dribble handoff or off a pick and roll. You're still committing the resources to stop him. You're still sagging in from the corner and give him the opening. He's going to hit the corners and create opportunities for other guys to get the ball in their spots. He's not there. Everything gets a little bit harder for Indiana. It's already pretty damn hard against that Oklahoma City defense. So Bears watching. Bears, we'll have to see what. Obviously, I think we're all with our fingers crossed, hoping that we've gotten this far into a great competitive series. You're hoping this training staff's going to be able to work a miracle, get him on the floor, have him be able to contribute, because this series this good, it deserves a Game 7 with the way that these two teams have gone back and forth, throwing haymakers at each other. But, it remains to be seen if Tyrese Haliburton's going to be able to go in Game 6.
Yeah, and this guy, he and TJ McConnell, obviously, what a performance in Game 5 from TJ. Yeah. But they don't play this style of basketball without Tyrese Haliburton. Like, Absolutely. He is the head of the snake in the same way that Shai is for OKC, and they follow his lead. And oftentimes his lead is that he's pushing the ball across half court with 23 seconds left on the shot clock. Like, it's so hard to play at that pace consistently in the regular season. Forget the postseason, the regular season, and to be doing this at the biggest stage. It's a shame that he's dealing with that injury, but man, what an incredible series this has been so far. I mean, just to go back to that big number, 38.4 miles per game covered by these two teams. The next highest in the past decade is 35.6. And it's no coincidence that finals that had the second most mileage covered per game, it involved Pascal Siakam. We're going to talk about Pascal Siakam in a little bit, but we're clearing almost 3 more miles per game in this NBA Finals than the next highest that we have seen in the player tracking era. It's just absurd. We usually see 33, 32 miles per game, and we're at 38. So hopefully Tyrese Halliburton comes back and he's able to play at close to 100%, so we can see this level of play continue from him and his team. Dan, 4 little numbers. What's the first one?
First little number is 8.3. That's how many fewer open shots the Oklahoma City Thunder have gotten in this series than they had through the first 3 rounds of the playoffs. That's according to NBA.com's shot tracking data. So open shots viewed as like 4 to 6 feet of room from the nearest defender, and then wide open shots 6+ feet of room from the nearest defender. Through the Western Conference Finals, so first 3 rounds, the Thunder had gotten 30.1 shots per game with 4 to 6 feet of space, and 26 per game with at least 6 feet of space. So adding that up, 56.1 open shots per game through 3 rounds. In this series, 47.8. A pretty big drop off, 8.3 shots per game. And the biggest one is they've only had 18.2 shots with 6+ feet of space. So the wide open shots are basically gone in this series for them. The effect has been similar, but a little less stark for the Pacers from 52.8 open field goal attempts per game through the first 3 rounds to 48.4 against the Thunder. And what this says to me, Tom, it's a part and parcel of what we've been talking about. The rotations, the hellacious closeouts, the athleticism and speed and length and physicality on the perimeter is just flying off the page for these 2 teams. And it's making clean looks really, really tough to come by.
Yeah. And I mean, Nesmith, look at this, 4.5 miles per hour. Nembhard, 4.5 miles an hour. Ben Shepherd, 4.6 miles per hour. And then, there's Kason Wallace at 4.5. Lou Dort at 4.5. The distance that they cover defensively, and there's no just chilling. They're always moving. It's amazing. Like, even off of a make, Andrew Nembhard will go and just intercept any sort of passing lane that the Thunder want to get to Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. Like, just making sure he does not get downhill in transition on turnovers. Like, he's just walling it off and making his life hell. And TJ McConnell stealing inbounds passes there in game 4. Like, that's what he does. But this is what the Pacers do, is they try to disrupt 94 feet. And then in their own half court, it's like, when OKC gets an open shot, I'm just like, oh my, like, how rare is that? Like, in the NBA Finals, sometimes we take it for granted how hard they play, but a lot of times in the finals, they're just dragging. This is so hard to do. 16 wins in the postseason, and with these young legs, you're seeing these guys are just flying around the floor. And in the past, a lot of it was just like, let that guy shoot. No, these 2 teams are not letting anybody shoot. And that's kind of interesting, is to think like the weak link theory. Owen Phillips does a great job at the F5 Substack, talking about the average age of the finals recently in a recent post. But also, he was kind of one of the first ones, if not the first one, to this the idea of like the weak link theory is like, in the NBA Finals, there are no weak links. Everybody can shoot. Everyone can put it on the floor. Everyone can drive. Everyone can ball handle. Everyone can defend. There's just no weak links out there. And I think when you see the numbers that you just gave, Dan, it's very clear that defensively, they have to close out on all these shooters because there's shooters everywhere, and they're capable of it because they're young, they're fresh, and they're going to get after it.
Which brings us, Tom, to our second little number this week. Look at you hosting. 38.3. That is the percentage that both the Thunder and Pacers are shooting from 3-point range outside of garbage time, according to our friends at Cleaning the Glass that strip out the garbage time numbers. 38.3%. That's a pretty good 3-point percentage. Through 5 games, we have 10 players in this series shooting 35% or better from 3-point range on at least 5 total attempts. There's Aaron Nesmith, Obi Toppin, Pascal Siakam, Benedict Mathurin, Ben Shepherd, and TJ McConnell. He's making those dare you threes there. The motion looks a little bit like a transformer transforming, but it gets up there and it goes in for the Pacers. And then for OKC, Lou Dort, Alex Caruso, Aaron Wiggins, and Isaiah Joe. Now, you might be hearing that group of names, 10 names, all over 35% from 3. And you're like, where are all those superstars? It doesn't include Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, Tyrese Halliburton, Jalen Williams, all those guys below 35% because, in part, of those hellacious closeouts that we've been seeing, the difficulty of the shots they've had to take. It doesn't include the stretch big men who are integral to the construction of these teams, but who have had a really hard time with their shot in the series. Miles Turner and Chet Holmgren not been able to knock it down from 3-point range. or the complementary guards who have hit mammoth threes in this series and also throughout the playoffs, guys like Andrew Nembhard and Cason Wallace. So all that is to say, I've just named like 18 dudes, like most of the rotations of these two teams. The sheer level of shot-making skill on display in this series and up and down these rosters, it's incredible. And again, going back to that feeling of like, this feels like the transition to something bigger moving forward in the league. Maybe this is just what you have to have come this time of year. Yet no weak links on defense and nobody who can't shoot, nobody who's not capable of firing with confidence and knocking that down, nobody that you can't honor, because when you get to this time of year, everybody is going to need to be a threat all over the court.
The last team to shoot 32% of their shots from downtown, meaning Oklahoma City is shooting 31.6% of their shots from downtown. So they're shooting a high percentage, but like in terms of proportion of their overall shot repertoire, it's not a lot of threes. And considering the last champion, the Boston Celtics shot 50% of their shots in the finals from downtown. And this Oklahoma City Thunder team are a lot more picky about the shots that they get, but also because of the Indiana defense is just not giving them any oxygen.
Yeah,
but it's been 8 years since we've seen an NBA Finals team shoot this few number of three-point attempts, and they're getting, these looks and making the most of it. Like Lou Dort has been awesome on these three-pointers. It's like, I think a lot of the series, he was kind of the X factor, is how well he was going to defend on Tyrese Halliburton and how he was going to make them pay offensively with his three-point shot making. And he's doing a great job of it. But it's as a numbers guy, I always have been harping on like why it's important to shoot threes and why 3 is more than 2 and why it's not just the actual 3 points that you're getting. It's also the spacing that it affords you. I gotta say, I love this NBA Finals with not as many three-pointers. There's 37% of the shots are coming from downtown, and that's one of the lowest rates in years. And the shot making, you're not like, oh, they're not shooting these because they're not good at it. They're not shooting it because the defense is so good. It's so good. And they're pushing guys into that mid-range, contested mid-range jumpers. And the shot making is insane. Like TJ McConnell is hitting fadeaway mid-range jumpers like he's MJ. Like J-Dub, same thing. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, same thing. It's just the shot making is insane, just like you said in that little number.
Yeah, and we're getting more stylistic diversity, right? You're seeing, like, we've all known, and this goes back to Seth Partnow and his mid-range theory book, but like the mid-range didn't go away. It just kind of became the province of the stars. And if you are not a star level player, you're probably going to be either looking at rim or 3-point range. But we're seeing that again. Like, it's more, if Lou Dort gets run off the line, he's pumping, he's going, but then he's passing, he's making the next play. And then you're getting more action, more rotations. Eventually somebody going to get a baseline drive to contest at the rim. Miles Turner's there turning away, Chet Holmgren on another drive, all these sorts of things. You're getting just like the more exciting plays as a result of it. It's just been great basketball. It's been phenomenal basketball. And you're right. It's not that these guys can't do it. It's that the defenses are taking it away from them, which we deserve a lot of credit. Not just the Oklahoma City Thunder, which we have said all year long, one of the best defenses we've ever seen. The Pacers deserve that credit too. And I know we talked about that on a recent episode of The Big Number. Speaking of Pacers worth talking about, our third little number this week, 5. That is how many NBA players, since they started tracking steals back in 1973, have averaged 20 points, 7 rebounds, 4 assists, 2 steals, and a block in a final series. I will grant you this is a very thin slice of the StatHead database, but 27, 4 dimes, 2 steals, and a block, meaning you're doing everything, right? Julius Erving in 1980 in the NBA Finals. Hakeem Olajuwon in 1995. Scottie Pippen twice, 91 and 93. LeBron James in 2016 and Kawhi Leonard in 2019. Pretty good list of two-way dudes. Pascal Siakam is on pace to join them and be the 6th guy to do that. For much of this series, he has been Indiana's best and sometimes only source of offense when it's like, I'm going to throw a rugged screen out there, get low on it, force the switch, and get Cason Wallace or SGA or even Lou Dort. Like, he's smaller, he's a linebacker, but he's smaller than me. And I'm going to get that switch and I'm going to take him into the paint and go over the top. Or I'm going to take Chet Holmgren or Isaiah Hartenstein out into deep water and I'm going to face up on him. I'm going to beat him off the bounce. He has also been, you mentioned those Lou Dort sort of X factor threes. those come up because you're having Pascal Siakam cross-match onto him so he can be the help defender, like putting out fires everywhere on the defensive end, auxiliary rim protection, getting into passing lanes, doubling down when the ball gets into the rim, and then still getting out to contest those Dort threes. I thought I had a pretty good bead on how good Pascal Siakam was. Like, I was writing about him as like the secret weapon for the Raptors back in like the fall of 2018. But traveling with the Pacers these last 2 rounds, I cannot get over how good this dude has been. And the Pacers are down in the series. They might lose this series. This should not get lost. This guy is phenomenal, and the trade to bring him to the Pacers was transformative and an absolute home run.
Yeah, I mean, a few years ago, when he was in the finals against the Warriors, like, he won them a few games, like the Raptors. Like, they don't win the NBA finals without Pascal Siakam, and he wasn't this guy. Like, you were ahead on it. 2019 most improved player of the year, but like, all NBA level play, all-time great play, when we're talking about the numbers that you just brought up, is that it's only basically Dr. J, Scottie Pippen, Kawhi. Like, that's nuts. And he's guarding Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. Like, this is a dude who's a 1 through 5. Like, we talk about it with LeBron. Yep. Eric Spoelstra said, I'm going to call you 1 through 5 because I think you can guard 1 through 5 out there. And then Bam Adebayo, same thing. Siakam's been that for the Indiana Pacers. A big reason why the Indiana Pacers are here is because of his defensive versatility, a guy who's going to play 110% on both ends of the floor, leading fast breaks, running down the floor, making sure that when OKC gets any sort of leak outs, he's going to try like hell to make sure that he's going to meet them at the rim and make sure they don't get a good look. Like, if you're going to build an NBA franchise from scratch, there's not a lot of players you would rather have than Pascal Siakam as just like the tone setter and the talent and the way that he gets after it, like in every single facet of the game. At the time of the trade, I was like, is that guy gonna be the second best player in an NBA Finals team or a championship team? He's proving that he can be. He's absolutely proving that he was worth the price that Indiana had to pay to Toronto and then some. Like, it was a bargain compared to what other players have gotten in history. So Pascal Siakam, he's so fun to watch, and just a guy that I think when you're there, you appreciate just how hard he plays.
And that goes into our fourth and final little number this week, because you mentioned that the way he busts it back after a missed shot or after inbounds or whatever. Our final little number this week is 107.6. That's how many points per 100 plays these two teams are scoring on average in transition in this series. So a 107.6 offensive rating on transition plays.
That sounds good. But what is the actual norm for these plays?
So league average during the regular season on transition plays was a 124.6 offensive rating, 17 points per 100 possessions better than this. League average through the first 3 rounds of the playoffs, 126.3, nearly 20 points per 100 possessions better than this. Now, you might hear that and think, man, these two teams have been garbage in transition. And I'm here to tell you, that is not the case. These are two of the best transition offenses in the entire NBA. But this series, they're scoring like the shorthanded Hornets because of the way that these two teams are defending in transition. And it isn't like they forgot to shoot layups. It's because of the way Siakam and Dort and Ben Shepherd and Nembhard and Alex Caruso and Cason Wallace and everybody, Chet Holmgren chasing plays down from behind. All of these guys chasing the play in transition, getting back to prevent a shot or being able to alter a shot, get a deflection on an entry pass to force it out of bounds in a reset. Like, they have sold out so completely to refuse easy buckets. And knowing how important a part of the other team's offense that is. You mentioned Indiana's pace, the way that they were basically were running the Knicks ragged in the Eastern Conference Finals. Makes, misses, free throws, turnovers, rebounds, whatever. The ball was a 60-foot hit-ahead pass. Pascal Siakam basically running layup lines behind the Knicks front line. And then with Oklahoma City, the way that they force turnovers, that historic pace, and then are able to generate offense off of that, both of these teams have sold out to make that almost impossible in this series. And it goes back to that 38.4 miles number. So much of that is because they have made a team-wide commitment on both sides to just evaporating transition offense. The idea that it seems impossible to be able to do that against opponents this good at forcing turnovers, at pushing the pace in transition. And yet they've both been able to do it. And it's been like, it has made all of these possessions feel like electrified, because if you can get ahead of the play, it's a rarity. And if you can't, that might be a collision at the rim. It might be forcing you to have like a scramble drill possession where you need 5, 6, 7 rotations. The ball's swinging all over the place, and it's electric basketball. It's random basketball. Rick Carlisle talks about all the time. Like, we don't want to always play 3 sets. We want to play random basketball. And in that spontaneity, we find so much of the joy of the expression of the game. And so much of it has come out. Transition defense doesn't feel like something that should spark joy, but the downstream effect of it has turned into some really watchable basketball.
Yeah, you can't take your eyes off the screen. Everything is fought for. Every inch, every point, every quarter. It's just like there's nothing that isn't earned in this series. And it's not just like open threes, whether it goes in. It's not how many times have you said make or miss in this series? It hasn't. Like, they've earned everything. There's very little luck involved in this series because everything has been played in the mud. They're playing so hard and fighting for everything. It's not like, oh, they just got a bunch of open threes and they missed them. Like, that has not been an analysis at all in this series because they've fought for everything. And your stat is what you're basically saying is that these two teams are playing so hard defensively that they're turning fast breaks into half-court offense.
Yeah.
I've never seen anything like it. Like, OKC has been pulverizing team. Their lifeblood has been getting out in transition and getting open layups the other way. And the Pacers refuse to let that happen. So I think that's part of the reason why it's been so fun to watch, is just they play so hard and they will not give up anything. So yeah. This finals, it's been so fun. Like, I hope this is the start of something sustainable going forward, that other teams watch this. Luka Doncic is now in the gym, not because of Nico Harrison, because he's watching this NBA finals and saying, if I want to win a championship, I got to lose some weight. I got to get in shape. I got to get better condition, all of that.
JJ Redick, right? We need to come back in championship shape. 28 other teams need to be looking at this and saying, if that's the bar, we got to step it up, because other teams don't play like this. They can't, and they're going to need to, I think.